走り出せ走り出せ空高く鳩と差し
Hi guys, it's Wasabi4 here again with part 4 of the Invading Mariejois theory series. If you have not seen parts 1, 2, or 3, go and check those out. They're very important for getting a feel for what I'm going for in this arc prediction. In this video, I'm going to be outlining what I think would be the end result from this arc as far as the Straw Hat's position in the world. There's a lot of things, but I think one thing that could occur is that Luffy will be considered a front runner at least, if not already taking that position of the Yonko. And this is why this arc happens after Wano. A Yonko slot will be free then, and I think Luffy making this statement would make people start to consider him for that Yonko position. But you can't just be considered a Yonko without proving that you have the necessary resources to be a Yonko. And I think those 3 resources are: you need to have individual strength that is comparable, or at least on a level where no vice admiral could stop you, I would think is the criteria. You know, you'd have to be somebody that they send an admiral after. 2, you need to have tons of influence, both in countries that are loyal to you, as well as Grand Fleet commanders and ships and stuff. And you need to prove that you're willing to do something incredibly dangerous and face down the world government and meet their advance head on and take them on. And I think all of that is going to happen. First thing that I think will happen, like I mentioned in part 3, is that I think Luffy will defeat an admiral level opponent. However, I'm not sure on who that opponent will be yet. I talked about Green Bull, I talked about World Commander Kong. However, I also want to talk about one other thing that I think could occur, and that is proving the strength of the Grand Fleet. There has to be some kind of opponent. In part 3, I didn't touch on anything that the Grand Fleet could be potentially fighting against, and that was intentional because I wanted to talk about it here. Now, we have a ton of commanders. If the Grand Fleet is going to be involved in this arc, they have to have somebody to fight against. And it occurred to me that we can't obviously send up 5,600 people up to Mariejois. I mean, invading with that kind of force, we don't even know how we would potentially even get that many people up there in a quick succession. And then, of course, there's the problem of getting all of them down would also be just as hard. It would be much easier to control the waters around the base and then have a small contingent of strong fighters go up. And I think that is what might actually happen, is that in this arc, we have a group of people controlling the Marine base G1, or the new Marine Ford as you might call it, controlling that base from below while we go up. And my thinking is, if a world government Marine base was taken over by a group of pirates, the world government would not stand for that. And I think one response they could do that would actually prove the strength of the Grand Fleet is calling in a buster call on G1. If they call in a buster call on G1, then the Grand Fleet will be forced to fight against the force of a buster call and 10 vice admirals. And I think that actually is a perfect force for Straw Hat Grand Fleet to get a chance to showcase their skill. Because I believe that 1, we have 7 right now. We're going to get the Minks, I believe, and the Samurai. That's going to be 9 officially, but actually 10 because the Minks double up. We have Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, who are both supposed to be equally strong. I think they could take on vice admirals. I think everyone believes that they could definitely take on vice admirals on their own. That makes up for Leo's slack, however, because Leo, I don't believe, is strong enough to take on vice admirals. So that's 9, and then I believe that Jinbei and some pirates are going to be number 10. So I believe Jinbei will be leading the charge, and I think those 10 people, Donsai, Bartolomeo, Cavendish, those 10 individuals might end up fighting vice admirals in a buster call on their own and taking them out and taking out the buster call, which is supposed to be one of the strongest weapons the Marines have at their disposal. And for the Grand Fleet to showcase that they're capable of staving off a buster call, I think sends a huge message to the rest of the world how strong these allies that Luffy has under him really are. And then I think even more to the point, we may have a situation where Poseidon could potentially be revealed to the world government. They're carrying Shirahoshi with them. I mean, do they really have to? I thought about that for a while. Do you really need to take Shirahoshi? Yes, she is the mermaid princess, but she's very big and hard to travel with, and she's very irritable, and she has a very dangerous power that the world government does not want to have revived. So, I mean, you don't want to take her. I think she's a ticking time bomb. I think what might happen is that after we save her family, and the other kingdoms that might be persecuted at Reverie from Mariejois, I think there may be a possibility of, when we get back down to the ocean, facing down a massive marine fleet. that has been called in from the exterior bases to come and assist Mariejois, and Shirahoshi showcasing by summoning the Sea Kings, proving that Luffy has an ancient weapon. I know for the pirates they might not understand, the significance of it, but I think it would really send a shock to the world government, the last final shock needed to say, look, I am a Yonko, I have an ancient weapon under my power, and I think that will actually make up for any slack in Luffy's actual individual strength. As far as his designation as a Yonko, he might not be individually as strong as one, but his forces, his commanders, the ancient weapon, all of that will build up to him being considered strong enough to be a Yonko. And another thing that I think will also happen is that he will release the slaves. And after this arc, there will be several kingdoms that will leave the world government entirely. Those being Alabasta, Dressrosa, Ryuga Kingdom, potentially even Drum Island. I think Hancock and her position in Shichibukai will be rescinded, and the Kuja pirates will also pledge their loyalty to the Straw Hats. I think all of these things will happen where there will just be this effect of all of these nations pledging their loyalty to Straw Hat Luffy and his Grand Fleet, and him being a Yonko. He'll have territories under him, he'll have people, strong fighters under him, he'll have all these divisions, even more than 10 really at the end it could end up as, and all of these will be a big statement to the rest of the world that Straw Hat Luffy is ready to become a Yonko. And that is what I think will be the end result of this arc, that Luffy is considered a Yonko. However, I think there's more to come. I think there's definitely more that could happen. I'm going to be talking about in part 5 and maybe even part 6. I'm going to be talking about the aftermath of this arc, potential things that could happen, not just on the Straw Hat side, but also on the world government side, potential shakeups in their power structure, as well as something that was foreshadowed on Dressrosa. Alright, thank you guys for listening. This is Wasabi Fold signing out.